Hey, good afternoon, everybody. It's your old pal, Freight Dog Danny. Welcome aboard once again, and this time we're starting out on foot. An old Army buddy of mine, George, commented that on my last video that he wanted to see me do a video on my handlebar array, because he just got into e-biking and he just wanted to see how I had mine set up. And the handlebars and what you have on them is just pretty much individualized for whatever your own preferences are. I started out initially with a mirror that was inside of my hand grip, and as a fairly large guy, I had a hard time seeing around myself, so I was finding that I was having to lean to the left in order to adequately see traffic behind me in the mirror. So I went ahead and switched to a mirror that goes into the end cap of the handlebar, and that seems to be working out pretty good. However, I've had a number of vehicles sneak up on me at a high rate of speed, and so that got me interested in the Garmin RVR 315 Rearview Radar. And here's the installation that I have back on my rear rack. Normally it's rotated 90 degrees if you have it connected to your seat post, but my seat is rather low, and the radar has to be able to see over your rear rack and your fender. So I mounted it on the back of the rear rack, and we tested it yesterday and it seems to work pretty good. So you'll get to see that here shortly. Next inside of the hand grip is the throttle, and that's particular to Aventon bikes. And so some are on the left, some are on the right. Some throttles are more like a hand twist on your hand grip, like a motorcycle. Next is the control housing for your bicycle display. It's where you turn the bicycle on and off. I also have to turn on the battery first, and this just turns on the display, and then you flip through various pages telling you your trip time, calories burnt. It has your pedal assist, your speed, of course, and then up above that you have your battery remaining. Some just have a bar graph, but this has both a graph and a percentage of battery remaining. And we have number of CO2, some of the CO2 reduced, some trees saved, if anybody cares about that, trip distance, and then your total odometer mileage as well. I have a Lamicall cell phone mount on the handlebars, and this one is pretty high quality. It doesn't cover up the back of the phone, so if you were wanting to use your phone as a camera, you're still able to do that. But it cinches up pretty good, and you can rotate it wherever you need it. I use several phone apps because I'm filming on GoPro. I have a GoPro Quick app that I use, and this is the Aventon cycling app, and those are all going to be different for all your different models of bicycles. But I use it as well as here's the phone app for the Garmin Rearview Radar. And let's see what else I have on here. Here's my Samsung Health app, and it has a setting for cycling. It's kind of redundant with some of the same features that I get with the Aventon cycling app. And then I also use Google Maps, which also has a cycling mode as well. And there's several different phone apps available for cycling, one of which is Komoot, which it has some pretty cool features, but Google Maps does everything that I need it to do, and it's updated for road hazards and traffic and things of that nature. So you can try anything out that you want, but that's what I use. Continuing on the handlebars, I have well, first of all, we have a headlight that came installed on the bike. I quickly found out that if you turn on the headlight in the daytime, that dims your display. So I don't use my headlight in the daytime. I rely on this cat eye strobe light. It has 4 different levels of light settings, 2 different strobe and 2 different steady, depending on the brightness that you need. The setting that I use, which is a high visibility strobe, that's the headlight, That's the dim of the headlight. There's the high visibility strobe that's meant for the daytime, and I use that. And according to the book, if you get about 6 hours of use out of it. Next, I have a bell. It's just one of the inexpensive bells that you can get pretty much at Walmart or your bicycle shop or online. Now, for all your accessories, if you want to save a buck, you can order on Amazon or Temu. And but what do you want to do? You want to give Jeff Bezos more money or some other rich fat cat? I prefer to do business with my local bike shop and any other local small businesses. So if I can't find anything or find what I want, yeah, I'll go ahead and go on Amazon. But general philosophy, I like to support my local small business. And next, this is the gear shift lever that is particular to Aventon. And you know, whatever model bike you have is going to be something different. The tone that you just heard, that is the Rearview Radar detecting this car that's just now passing us. And so it works pretty good. On the rear of the bike, I also have this strobe light that is also a cat eye. And it too has about 4 different settings. If I can get it to go to the setting that I want. I just charged it yesterday, so I don't know what's up with that. I'll have to fool with that in a minute. But like I said, the handlebar array is pretty much whatever you want it to be, whatever you have room for. Garmin does have an instrument that looks about the size of this display right here that's called a Garmin Edge, and that's to be used with their radars, and they have a lot of fitness apps on them as well. And however, that would have been just one more thing to put on my handlebars, and it works perfectly well with the phone app. And plus, they have several different models of the Garmin Edge, but they start at about $250, $300 and go up from there. And so I just found that I think the phone app is going to be enough for me, and I don't have a whole lot of room left on my handlebars as well. So anywho, let's get to riding. I'll be right back with you. Okay guys, I'm back, and once again welcome aboard to e-bike adventures with Freight Dog Danny. I am Danny. I'm a retired Air Force pilot and a retired airline pilot. Let me get by these folks. Passing on your left, folks. Okay, and once again, as a retired Air Force pilot and Air Force pilot, or Air Force pilot, airline pilot, let's start that again. I've flown cargo and people all around the world for pretty much my entire adult life. As I stated in the beginning of the video, an old Army buddy, George, wanted me to do a video on my handlebar array. And so we just did that. Coming November will be the 49th anniversary of when George and I graduated from Army Warrant Officer helicopter training. That was in November of 1975, a long time ago. But yeah, George and I were classmates, and we both went to Germany, but not to the same unit. And for those of you that are civilians and maybe are not aware, yeah, I stated that I'm a retired Air Force pilot, but I actually started my career as a warrant officer helicopter pilot. And you are allowed to change services. And in my case, I went ahead and completed my initial obligation after pilot training, which was 3 years. And I got out of the Army altogether, completed my 4-year college degree, which the Air Force requires of its pilots. The Army doesn't require a college degree for its warrant officer helicopter pilots. And so I had completed a couple of years credit while I was overseas in Germany. And all I had to do was complete another 2 years to finish up the bachelor's degree, and then I went into Air Force pilot training. And people change services just pretty much because their personal career goals have changed. And in my case, I love the Army, I love flying helicopters, and I love the low-level flying support of the infantry. But the Army doesn't have many opportunities for fixed-wing flying and for large jet transport flying, or for that matter, fighters. Of course, you can fly helicopter gunships, but I didn't do that. I flew Hueys, which are also known as slicks, and that was just hauling people and cargo all around Germany for 3 years back in the Cold War days. But I had an ultimate goal of being an airline pilot, which I pretty handily eventually got to, and so the Air Force was a good fit for me. I completed 32 years of service between the active duty and the reserves, both Army and Air Force, and I retired from the reserves actually, so my airline career overlapped with my military career by 10 years. I started my airline job flying for an international air freight company in 1998 and retired from the reserves in 2008. And then finally retired from the airlines at age 65, which is the mandatory retirement age for airline pilots, in 2020. So I've been retired from the airline now for coming up on 4 years. Be 4 years in November. But anyway, we've already completed part one of our discussion today. Next is we're going to talk about Garmin and the Rearview Radar. Let me get off the road and stop here. I discovered yesterday when I was testing this thing out that in order to use it, you have to have the Garmin phone app up for display. And you just saw we were passed by a car. Let me sit here and wait for another one. But the way this radar works is naturally, as I mentioned before, the radar has to be able to clearly see over your rear fender or rear rack. And so in my case, I mounted it on the end of the rear rack. And there you have to have a vehicle closing with you, and that is going faster than you. Here we have a vehicle quickly approaching, and you see an icon for the vehicle coming up, and he's gone. Now, it won't detect any oncoming traffic, but if you have a car that's trailing you and he's pacing you, that is, he's at your same speed that you are, it might not detect the target. But as soon as he accelerates and begins to get closer to you, that's when a target is going to be displayed. So let's just continue on, and we'll see how it goes. It will it'll pick up vehicles 150 yards away, so that's 450 feet, and it'll display as many as 8 vehicles. And yesterday, I think a couple of times I had 4 vehicles approaching me. But of course, it isn't going to prevent a driver that's not paying attention from hitting you, but it lets you know that somebody is there. Let me get out on the road here now that I have a way to do it and wait on this car. Yeah, it's not going to save you from an inattentive driver, but it lets you know that somebody is there, and you can do whatever you can to get out of his way. That is, get as far over to the right as you can, or maybe get off the road if you have that opportunity. Now, there's going to be a lot of traffic on this road up here today, so let's hang a right, and we'll try to be as safe as possible. Okay, we're over in the left-hand turn lane, and from here on I've got the right-of-way. Now, like I said, I think I mentioned, The thing that prompted me to investigate this Rearview Radar is I've been out on roads like this, or country roads, and I'll have a pickup come up from behind me doing 50 or 60 miles an hour, and because of the wind noise I don't even hear him. And if you're not looking in your mirror at that particular instant, you know, it just really surprised me. So I thought that I would look for some ways to adequately get warned of any traffic that's coming behind me. Let's just take a right here and get into this neighborhood. Well, like I said, old George and I graduated pilot training together, and you guys got to see me, I think, for the first time in that opening sequence. But I'll flash a picture of our entire class at our graduation ball, where we're all decked out in our Army dress blues, and you'll be able to compare the picture of that fresh-faced 20-year-old kid to the grizzled old fart that you saw at the beginning of this video. And it's George and I in the lower row, all the way to the left. George is the first one, and I'm right next to him. Yeah, I went from high school to flight school. I entered training a year and a half after I graduated from high school. And it took an entire 9 months of processing to be accepted as a pilot. So most of that year and a half between high school and flight school was just testing, meeting a board, and taking not only my induction physical that everybody has to take when you go in the military, but you have to have a flight physical from a flight surgeon. I grew up in the Detroit area. They didn't have any of those, so the Army flew me to Chicago, where the nearest flight surgeon was, and I had to pass that flight physical as well. So it's a pretty grueling process to get accepted into military pilot training. But I can't complain a bit about my career. I always like to tell people that I really like the fact that I had a career that I did not even consider to be work. You know, everything that you have to do to be a pilot, that is all of the training, the posting of publications, the evaluations, the medical exams, everything, all of that is work. But the flying and the working with your crews, that's all pure pleasure, and I really feel privileged and honored to have such a career. I miss the flying. I miss all the guys, both at airline and the military. Here we have another car approaching, and he turned off into the neighborhood we just came out of. Yeah, like I said, I miss all the people that I served with and flew with. I miss all the exotic locations that we went to. And Mrs. Freight Dog, she kind of had the idea that when I retired that we were going to do a great deal of traveling. But she's in for a big surprise because I don't fly anywhere unless somebody has died or it's someplace that I really, really want to go. Let's just stop here and wait on the traffic. Now, next month, Mrs. Freight Dog and I have a trip planned down south to Orange Beach, which is in Gulf Shores, Alabama, and we're going to drive the whole way. It would be a lot quicker to fly, but I just hate messing around with the TSA and these days all the cancellations and delays that you have. So like I said, unless somebody has died or I want to go to Hawaii or over to Europe, then I'm going to be driving. Yeah, we got two cars coming up on us now. And I'm all the way over to the right on the edge of the road to give them plenty of room to get around me. Okay, this is where I like to normally start my rides. That is Fort St. Clair. It's the a park that's built around where a post-Revolutionary War fort was. There's nothing left of the fort, but they built a real nice park around it. The fort was built in 1792. And then the town of Eaton, where we're located, it wasn't founded until 1806. So I'm sure by that time the fort was long gone, and if anything was left, it was just ruins. There are a couple of buildings here that we'll pass on our way out of the park that look like old block houses, but I highly doubt if they're original. They look pretty old, but those were probably built after they built the park. Now, to our left here was the battlefield. There was a small skirmish with elements of the Shawnee Indians under Chief Little Turtle, and there were 6 members of the Kentucky militia. They're buried right up here to the right. And just about a quarter mile from my house, there was a supply train that was going northward out of Fort Washington and Cincinnati. I think they were going up to Fort Defiance, up near Defiance, Ohio. But it was about 70 horses and mules, and there was a small contingent of soldiers that were accompanying them, of course. And I don't know how many soldiers there were actually in the supply train, but there were 13 soldiers killed when the Indians caught them watering their horses at a creek. Like I said, that's only about a quarter mile from my house, and those soldiers are buried in a cemetery that we passed just a few minutes ago. It's the old section of the Mound Hill Cemetery here in Eaton. But so there's a little bit of Indian history around this area. In those days, Ohio and you know, the old Northwest Territories, that was considered to be the Wild West. If you were coming out this way to settle, you had to be half crazy. And there were several Indian battles all over the place. I know we're supposed to call them Native Americans now, but I'm 68 years old and we've been calling them Indians our entire lives. So, unless it's offending somebody, they're Indians. But there's a couple of the buildings right here you can see right ahead, if the camera angle's right. It looks like an old block house. And I have a log home, and it's built in much the same way, the dovetailed corners with the flat logs rather than the more traditional round logs. Passing on your left. Now, when I first started e-biking last year, the only speed limit signs that there are in the park were 15 miles an hour. And I think we may have had some complaints from people when I zipped by them. So now the speed limit in the park is 10 miles an hour. So unless I'm around people, I'll go ahead and go as fast as I can. But as soon as I get in the area of some people, I slow down just to make it a little more friendly. Hi. Now, the park is actually closed right now. They have the entrances blocked off. They close in the fall and don't open again till spring. But you know, people can still come inside and walk, as we've seen, or in my case, riding.
1 minute, 8 seconds.
During Christmas time, the area businesses decorate this place up with Christmas lights. It's a pretty nice display. And then so they open it up to the public at that time, around Christmas time. Now let's see if we can get out of here. Now, coming up on the right, here in a couple hundred yards, is that old cemetery, and it's got graves that goes back to right when the town was founded. Like I said, 1806. And around Halloween time, they run some pretty interesting walking tours. You know, talking about the history of the area and you know, some of the more prominent graves that are located in it, and some of the period-specific tombstones that they have. But anywho, I think that's about all we need to talk about today. I mainly wanted you to see the Rearview Radar from Garmin. Once again, the one that I have is the RVR 315, and it is only the radar. If you look for them on Amazon or at the Garmin website, you'll see that they have other models. Hi. That have a red flashing strobe light on them. And I figured since I already had a red strobe light, I didn't need that. And it makes it about half as big when you take the light off of it. And plus, it's a little more money for the radar, or with the flashing light. So anywho, on that note, let's go ahead and call it a day. Please hit like, subscribe, and comment below, and also hit the notification bell so that you'll know when I have a new video coming out, and that'll really help us out. I didn't mention it before, but my channel is not monetized yet. I'm pretty new at this. And so when you hear me talk about a product, you can bet that it is a 100% honest assessment, because I don't have any incentive to give anybody any brownie points on their product. This intersection is pretty busy, so let me wait on the traffic. I got two coming up behind me, so I'm just going to wait on them. And more than that. Anywho, like I said, we'll see you next time. Everybody take care.